Elvis, with all indications, do you think the planned protest will hold despite the president's plea and appeal to organizers, given the current public sentiment and the traction the protests has gained on social media? What is your take?
For me, I don't have every information to say if it will hold or not hold, but at the moment, that's what I know, that protest is a democratic right of citizens. I also know that Nigeria is sitting on a keg of gunpowder should that protest hold, because there's tension in the land, and oftentimes I don't want to say Nigeria that will look like Kenya. So, and I would like to take it back to history, the NSAS protest. A lot of families are still yet to get over the grief of their loved ones, and till date there are some persons that didn't see their loved ones, and oftentimes it's young people that are really the vehicles of all this, that are the victims of these issues. Let's not forget too that there are those playing political shares that want to use young people to hijack the protest. Because I just came back from Canada, and while I was there, I noticed LCDA, is it their liquid bought something? They protested because it's their right, and even police were escorting them, accompanying them while they were doing this protest. But back in Nigeria, there's already tension everywhere, and I want to also appeal to the security agencies. In as much as I will commend them for what they're doing, they should gather their intelligence, because I know there are people out there who want to hijack this protest. Even as I also believe that this is not what we need. There's room for dialogue. While I still want to reiterate that those who contracted governance with our vote should know that they signed the oath to protect lives and properties, create an enabling environment for people, mostly young people, who make up a large populace of this country today. Create an environment where they can live their dreams, where they can, work, earn money, and live a life. But today, you see, there's hunger, there is inflation. I was told just this morning I noticed that when I got there, I noticed that there's increment of.
Hello, Elvis. I think. Okay, good. Elvis,
so for me, I want to say. Hello.
Yes, Elvis. We lost you there for a minute, Elvis. But Elvis,
okay,
we got everything that you said. I wanted to further ask about the federal government's meeting, the emergency meeting that has been called to address the protest. What measures do you think this meeting is going to discuss? What are they going to implement, perhaps?
I am half annoyed and I'm overwhelmed with shame that the promises that were made during the electioneering doesn't seem to be playing out. It's just excuses that we met a government, we met a Nigeria that is like this, we will not do it overnight. But let them not forget too that they were not elected to make excuses. They were elected to profile solutions that we're faced with in Nigeria. In as much as I'll give President Bola Ahmed Tinubu kudos for inclusivity, mostly with the young people, which is my primary constituency. I want him to, him and his team, they should make policies that will make life easy for the average Nigeria. Because lately the high rate of people going to grab an international passport, escape Nigeria, is becoming very, very high. Not because the young people know what they want to go and do there. You see cases where someone will just touch down a particular country, is not sure how he's going to live in that country. He will make a video and will be so happy that he left his own country. So for me, there's no better place than Nigeria. But those who contacted governance with our vote should make Nigeria habitable. In as much as I will still reiterate that it's a wrong timing to embark on a protest at the moment.
Okay, so you spoke about what you witnessed in Canada. You said you witnessed the protests of the FCDA. Now, let's bring it back to Nigeria and talk about the federal government proposing dialogue. And the youth, however, nobody's absolutely sure exactly what kind of expressions would happen during the protests. What advice do you have for the youth who have been proposed to a system of dialogue, but who are still insistent on going on this protest? What would you advise them, well, judging from your experience from outside the country?
I've always reiterated on every platform I find myself that when you don't give young people the opportunity to use their energy properly, You don't harness their talent and all that. They use their energy negatively. That's what we're faced with in Nigeria today. A handful of young persons, they've gone through the 4 walls of school, they have skills, they're jobless. It's always a caution of, do you know this person or you don't know this person? You can't get what you really merit. So I would still want to re-echo it that young people should not make themselves vehicle of violence. I know protest is our fundamental right because we're running a democratic process, but at the moment, we don't want to have another Kenya. Let's create room for dialogue because I already know that the government, they're already feeling a pain, they're feeling the pulse. They want to bring it back to my state, Delta State. I think my governor, Right Honorable Sheriff Obori, is working around the clock to make sure there's room for dialogue, because he knows the consequences of an hijacked protest in Delta State. Basically, Delta State will not want to be. We're faced with a lot of infrastructural development at the moment. We don't want to be on the news negatively, and I think so for Nigeria too. So I want to call everybody, every young person out there. I know it's not easy out there, but let's create room for dialogue. Let's play the role we need to play as Nigerians to make Nigeria better, to make Nigeria.
Okay, then Elvis, let me put you on hold for a minute. We have been joined by Ibrahim Amarawa. He is a current affairs analyst. Ibrahim, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Right off the bat, Ibrahim, I have a question. Good. So the IG referenced the last NSTARS protests and its aftermath. So my question to you is, what lessons can be learned from that protest in Nigeria, and how might these inform the government's and the law enforcement's approach to the upcoming planned protest?
Okay, thank you very much. I think
Unfortunately, we cannot hear you there, Ibrahim. My apologies. But Elvis, I'm hoping that you heard. If you don't mind, Ibrahim, if you can hear me, if you can take out your earpiece, perhaps maybe we'll have better audio. But let me redirect this back to you, Elvis, if you're still there. Elvis, talking about the reference to NSAS, what could we or what have we learned, whether as law enforcement or as Nigerian authority, from the past protests, and what can be applied to that of the upcoming protest come August 1st, if it holds?
I want to believe that the president did due diligence to appoint security heads and all that. And I want to also, I want to commend the security heads, the security agencies for protecting lives and properties. They must have done their visibility studies. I was meant to understand that the National Security Advisor had a meeting with ministers and all that. From, like I said, the NSAS protest, we recorded a lot of young people who lost their lives. Those are the future of this country, and we will not want that this time around. So everybody knows the tensions are high. So I want to urge everybody who's made promises during election period, who were contacted, who were given trust their vote, to look for a way to come to get a middle ground with the people that are planning to play, mostly the young people. There should be room for dialogue. That what do you want? What is itching you? How can we solve this whole thing? Because, like I've always said, no singular person owns this country. It's a collective effort. We all own this country as people. Mostly with the young people. We need to play a role in it too. But those who contracted governors should make policies that will make Nigeria habitable for young people.
So most of our expressions have been targeted at the youth who are about to go on this strike, but we seem to be conditioning the youth, telling them what to do or not to do come the protest. But little is being said toward the authorities or people in law enforcement. So I want to ask this question right now regarding this protest, and from everything that we have learned from before, if we are to perhaps maybe get the difference between the word protest and violence, for instance, because it seems to be the one thing that's on everybody's mind who's in law enforcement or the authorities, the worry of violence breaking out inside of the protest. What do you have to say about that difference in the right to protest and then where it becomes unlawful if it turns out violent?
Like I said, I know they must have done their due diligence and gotten their intelligence report and all that. By now, I think they should know if should that protest take place, if it will be hijacked, those people that are planning this hijack and all that. So for me, in as much as I wouldn't want a protest for our country at this moment, because I don't want a second occurrence from what just happened in Kenya to happen in Nigeria, because I know Nigeria's own will be overblown. But I think, should it happen, the security agencies, mostly those that are not on uniform, should even be on that peaceful march with them, so people don't hijack whatever is going to happen that day. But still, we don't need any form of protest at the moment. Let's get to the table of dialogue and let's have a middle ground. While I want to also urge those that have been contracted governors to with votes that the excuses are becoming too much. Let's make policies. They should make policies that will solve problems for Nigeria. Every day things keep going, getting worse, which is not good for our country.
All right, then, Elvis, thank you very much. Preaching dialogue there. Let's see if we can still talk to Ibrahim Amarawa. Ibrahim, are you with us now? Do we have a clear signal with you?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Right.
Grand. So, Ibrahim, I'm going to stick to the one question I asked from before regarding law enforcement and the authorities, what they've learned from the past NSAS protest from 2020 and the upcoming one, what they could infuse into this situation as they've learned from before.
I think as I will focus more attention to speak to the present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should not in any allow this kind of protest to happen in our country. As you know, we are one of the countries with the highest number of jobless young people roaming the streets. And even though the young people call it a peaceful protest, but there are ongoing fear it may turn violent because of such a huge number of unemployed youth roaming the street in our country. So, and again, in the other part, I am calling on the security apparatus to conduct their duties with the utmost following the rules of and regulation of the country, instead of intimidating, to ensure that the peaceful did not turn violent, and to also ensure that the security agencies coordinate and conduct and support the young people to speak out to the government with the language they clearly understand. But what we are seeing in Kenya is there was a deep concern to any Nigerians, because if this kind of protest begins in our country, I think they may not know the end of it, considering what happened during Buhari administration, during NSAS started in Lagos to some parts, some cities in northern Nigeria. By the end of the day, they started peacefully, and they have organized a protest with leaders that can negotiate with the government. But for now, the recent arrangement is like there's faceless leaders of this protest. Nobody will, the government will also hold responsible. So for me, the current administration should do the needful to speak to Nigerian youth, especially I'm calling on Mr. President to speak to Nigerian youth, even though we have seen 15 months rather for his administration. But I think Nigerian youth, they are not seeing a clear direction of this government.
Ibrahim,
that's the reason.
I want to say thank you. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, especially because of that little technical issue we had. But thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank
and
you.
also thank you very much, Elvis.
Thank you for having me.